So this is a review of adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numbers. So just really quick review. Remember, when you add and subtract fractions, you need to get a common denominator. And whatever you do to the bottom, the denominator, you also need to do to the top or the numerator. I apologize if these numbers are a little hard to read. I have a new pen and it's giving me a little bit of trouble, so you'll have to bear with me. So in this first example, the denominators are 3 and 6. So what you have to think about is what's the smallest number that both 3 and 6 go into? And in this case, the answer is actually 6. Now, if you thought in your head 12 or you thought in your head 18, that's okay. You can pick a different denominator. The only stipulation is they have to be the same denominator. But it's definitely easier if you pick the smallest one because then you're not working with large numbers. So in this case, the smallest one is 6. So what that means is that our first one, denominator needs to change to 6. Then our second one, our denominator is already 6, so we can keep it as is. Now remember, whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So I needed to multiply by 2 to get 6. So I need to also multiply by 2 on the numerator, and I will get 4. Oops, see, my pen's, that's supposed to say 4. And I'll see if I can erase that, try that again. All right, now all you do, once the denominators are the same, you just keep the denominator as is, and you add the tops. In this case, I get 9. Now you need to double check if you can simplify, and in this case you can, because 3 goes into both 9 and 6. So you're going to divide the top and the bottom by 3, and you will get 3 over 2. Now a lot of people ask, can you leave your answer as an improper fraction, or do you have to make it a mixed number? The answer is, as long as your answer is simplified, it is fine. Generally speaking, I recommend that you leave your answers as an improper fraction, because that's generally what we do, unless there's like a context, like if you were saying how much pizza is there, you might, instead of saying 3/2 of a pizza, you might say 1 1/2 of a pizza. So totally up to you. You would be correct either way. So you can leave it as 3 over 2. I know that looks like 3 over 21, but it isn't. It's 3 over 2. Or if you prefer, you can write that as 1 1/2. Either one is totally fine. So second example, exactly the same thing. We get a common denominator. In this case, the smallest number that both 8 and 5 go into is 40. So we have to change both denominators in this case. And to get to 40 over here, we had to multiply by 5. So the top will become 35. And there, it doesn't really look like 35. Sorry. And we multiply by 8 over here. And that top will become 24. Now, in this case, just be careful. We're subtracting instead of adding, but the process is the same. 35 minus 24 is 11. Denominator stays as 40. And again, you just look at it and you ask yourself, is there a number that goes into both 11 and 40? In this case, there is not, so you leave your answer as is. So let's look at a couple mixed numbers. I highly recommend that if you have a mixed number and you are adding or subtracting, I highly recommend that you change them into improper. It makes it so much easier. And then really it's the same as what we just did. Quick review of how we change a mixed number into improper. We take the whole number, in this case 2, we multiply by the denominator, in this case 3, then we add the numerator, in this case 1. So that will become 2 times 3 is 6, 6 plus 1 is 7, that becomes 7 over 3. That is supposed to be a 3. Ugh. I will get used to my new pen, hopefully. And 1 1/2, 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. That becomes 3 over 2. So again, this was, I'll try to write it again. This one is 7 over 3 minus 3 over 2. So now we need to get a common denominator. In this case, it will be 6. And we multiply this one by 2. And we multiply this one by 3. And 14 minus 9 will be 5. And our answer is 5 over 6. Same thing over here with adding, exactly the same thing. Much easier to change it into an improper first. So 3 times 5 plus 2 is 17. Now the second one is not a mix. That's okay. You can have a combination. And then you get a common denominator. In this case, it will be 20. And to multiply by 4, so that's 34 times 2, 68, I believe. Hopefully I'm right. And this one will be 15. And the 5 doesn't turn out. And then we add those together, so we'll get 83 over 20. And we double check if it's simplified. In this case, it is simplified. However, if you would prefer to write it as a mixed answer, that is fine. You could say 4 and 3/20 if you would prefer. You are more than welcome to leave it as 83 over 20. As long as it is simplified, it is fine. And that is a review of how to add and subtract fractions and mixed numbers.